In this video, I'm going to break down some of the key strategies I use when scaling my agency from zero to over $100,000 in monthly recurring revenue in less than 100 days. I'm going to tell you about the things I focused on, what I ultimately discovered, and a lot of things that I did wrong. I also talk about the future of AI and actually what I believe every content agency owner out there should be thinking about and what they should be doing right now. With that said, let's go ahead and dive in.
Ashton, my man, thanks so much for taking time to pop on and share a little bit about your experience, your expertise, all that good stuff. I know you got a lot of all of that.
Yes, sir. My pleasure.
Yeah, man. Why don't you just give a quick intro to who you are, where you are, and why you might be a little qualified, maybe even overqualified to talk about these kinds of topics.
Yeah. So my name is Ashton Shanks. I'm the CEO, co-founder of Bad Marketing. We are a full service agency in the e-com, local business space, information divisions, Amazon. We've got about 186 staff members now. We have offices in Nashville, Atlanta, and then teams in Denver and London, and then remote. I started my first agency back in 2020. It was called Heman Media. And then last year in 2023, we did a merger with 4Media and became Bad Marketing.
Sick. You've been in the game for a while, and you've done good things, man. It's been really cool to watch.
Oh, thank you, man. It's funny though, like right in the internet marketing world or the marketing space, like 4 years is like a long time, but in the grand scheme of things, I feel like I'm just getting started.
So true. But you're definitely one that I've admired from afar for a while because you also do it right and you do it like with integrity, and like it seems like you really care about like the reputation and like the clients and like your messaging and all that sort of stuff, which is unfortunately not always too common in our space.
Yeah. Well, I think, a lot of people maybe join this space more than others because I think the barrier to entry is very little. And so I think a lot of people who maybe join this space they join because they want to make money, and we all want to make money. But I think I really, truly joined and do what I do because I love building a business. And I think if you're going to build a business that you want to be admired someday, which I do, then reputation, I think, is almost everything.
Yeah, you can really tell, man. I know we haven't connected much, but just from what I observe from the internet, you can tell. So,
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, let's get into it. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about just some suggestions for agency owners that are listening to this. Specifically, more on the video agency side is going to be listening. So I'm sure it'll all apply for the most part. But the first question would be, and if I'm a video agency or if I'm an agency owner watching this and I'm freelancing, let's call it, or if I'm trying to get to that first, what is that 10K mark, what people are so like love to tout, like what do I need to be doing in order to get from 0 to 10K?
Yeah, I think the first thing is probably choosing the people that you surround yourself around really well. Namely, in this space, when it comes to having very low amounts of experience, you don't really have that to leverage. And so I think making friends with the right people is the best way to do it. And I think that first comes from having something unique and special to offer. For us, it's harder for me to always talk about, the 0 to 10K because, we hit like 40 grand a month in my first month, and we had 110 in recurring revenue in 86 days of starting my agency. And, what I would say, though, the reason that happened was because I had a very specific process and a unique process that allowed me to provide results different from other people. And so all of the focus was like, well, you got to go to Ashton because it's this specific way he does it, and it causes something special to happen. And so I think if you're specifically like a creative agency or content creator, then it's like, what is that special flavor, that style that now everyone's going to want, right? You think, and you think about it even with like, let's say Hermosi content, because everyone seems to know him when it comes to short form content. Well, like that green text, yellow text, like that really kind of like started originating around that time. And he started borrowing a lot of that from Mr. Beast. And so it's like, there was that unique thing. So now everyone wants that unique thing. And so I think if I was starting from 0 and I was doing creative or content, I would be going, what is this unique process or method or style that I can create that generates results? And now everyone wants that special cutting edge thing.
So what I hear you saying is, one, have something unique to offer and something that is not just molding with the crowd because you're likely going to be positioned as a commodity. Is that your kind of train of thought?
Yep. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Now you're just being compared to everyone else and you seem like a beggar. You're in the DMs because you're doing something that everyone else does. And it's like, okay, I've got you, but I've also got 20 other people asking me the same thing that's offering the same thing. So how do
Yeah.
I know the difference?
Yeah. And then the second thing would be results. You mentioned just kind of like slow, like subtly, but I think focusing on the unique thing actually getting a result.
Yeah. And honestly, I think if you can provide something unique, every business and every owner is looking for a competitive edge. Like all the biggest influencers, they're all looking for a competitive edge. And so, honestly, if you have something unique and you focus on going after, like, I would pick two or three people that I'm like, I really want them. Don't go for the big whales. You're not going to get them, but go for like the middle level people that have some level of influence, because if you could make them happy, you get their friends as clients. So I would find, two or three of those people that I'm like, I really want to go after them, and then just overwhelm them with service and like value of that unique thing that you can do for them, and try to work your way into there. I think going to masterminds, going to events are great ways to find those people. If you got to do it from social media, then you're going to have to give way more value because they don't have that pleasure of meeting you in person.
Yeah, this is a really interesting take, just as far as like having the unique and having the outcome. Like I think a lot of people think if I can go on the coattails of what somebody else is doing, then they're going to all of a sudden get a lot of business. Like we always tell people, especially like creatives or videographers, like don't be a red button pusher to your clients, or don't just be another editor, because you're going to commoditize yourself and it's just going to be a race to the bottom for what you're doing. It's like, how do you position yourself as an expert, as a strategist first, as having something unique like what you're saying that gets them to an outcome, and really focusing on that. And like, and I love what you said about getting in front of people, because yes, similar situation to you, man. Like we grew really fast
Yeah, man.
because
Actually, I had an idea for a content agency. I was just sharing with someone recently. Should I drop this here? I don't think I've ever
yeah,
shared this.
let's do it.
Here's what I would do, though. If you're a content agency right now, everyone's doing short form content, right? And that's kind of the thing, like, and that's where everyone's getting commoditized, right? Now we see AI coming into this world, and like now people are valuing those services less and less, right? If I was someone who is an editor, and this is frustrating because it's going to take some of the artistic side away from it, but short form content has kind of lost its artistic side in a lot of ways anyway. What I would try to do and try to build is, so we have AI systems now that you can AI generate video, you can AI generate voice, right? We have things that'll auto cut things up. If it was me, the whole offer right now that people do is like, hey, I will make 30 videos for you a month for $1,500, for $2,500, whatever, right? For me, though, that whole system still requires the biggest bottleneck for any business owner anywhere, which is the time to record and shoot those videos.
Mm-hmm.
If I was someone who was an editor, I would learn how to really master the AI video generation to where they could still pay the $2,500 a month, but never have to spend more than 40 minutes with me ever in video. Because I just need 40 minutes to get your dialogues down, your sentence structures down, your voice down, your lips down, your facial expressions down. And now I can go to someone and go, I will give you 30 videos a month and you don't have to record a single video because I'll generate it all with AI and you just have to get good at the AI. But no one's getting good at the AI side. And so you see like the video generation, it's kind of like meh, it's okay, it's not great. But if you're a content person out there and you can spend the time to get really good at making those videos seem authentic, now you can use AI to create all the scripts for viral videos. You can get the videos recorded with voice and video generation without ever even using a second of your client's time. That, I think right now is the next 7-figure content agency.
Yeah, love that. And even just like voiceovers, or just like even
Yes.
like there's, you be a good copywriter, add some voiceover with some B-roll on top, boom. And then if you
Heck, you could probably charge a lot of people more than what these other people are charging, but if they don't have to spend an hour in front of the video each week, instant.
And come up with the copy and all that sort of stuff too. I think that's like the headache and like what actually works well for people.
Yep.
That's a nugget.
But it's all about something unique, right? What is that thing that no one else can do? And that's a competitive edge. And every business owner, they know they need to make content, but if they don't have to spend hours doing it.
Totally. You're no longer a race to the bottom. It's something interesting that gets them the result. Dope, man. Okay. So I've hit my 10K. We're floating around 10K. Maybe I'm starting to feel a little bit busy. Like I feel good. I'm feeling a little bit busy. What's it going to take to get me from 10K to 50K per month in my agency, and kind of inch towards that 7-figure run rate?
Yeah. I think first it probably depends on what you're charging and what you're doing. I think this is the point to where you really probably are going to hire 1 to 2 people. I really encourage to try to do as much work as you can from that 10 to 50K. Now, of course, with editing, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit harder. Namely, it's just because it's time, and there's a lot of ways you just can't speed up the time. And so I think in that case, it's going to be finding like those one or two grunt people that are just really rolling up their sleeves and doing as much as they can. Holistically, though, to continue growing, and where I see most people lacking is that when you do not have case studies or reputations to speak for you, you have to be loud as hell on social media. You have to constantly be talking about what you're doing and why, what makes you unique. Talk about what you see problems in other content pieces, review video pieces constantly. When I first started my agency, there was this kind of concept when it came to organic marketing, because that's how I grew my agency, was just organic marketing, posting in groups, posting on my Facebook page. And I did it every single day. And the whole concept was you had to do it for 90 days straight before you really felt momentum come in. And it is weird, but it's almost to the dot. Around that day 90, you just start seeing natural momentum of people reaching out to you. In the first 90, you're getting a few people here and there. You're reaching out mostly, but around day 90, you just start getting a pretty steady flow of people reaching out to me. And so I'd say it's like, man, I was doing it twice a day in groups, 2 groups, post a day, and then once a day on my personal page. And I just think in the beginning, when you don't have other things to speak up for you, you've got to be the loudest that you can possibly be. And that comes from not selling, but just constantly being in front of people's faces. They constantly see my name in groups. They constantly see my names in comments, which, by the way, I think comments are a pro hack. I think too many people are like thinking they got to come up with all these amazing posts. But if you just comment on 10 posts a day, your face is still being seen by all those people. And so just as much as you can being loud. And I think even in the content side, it's funny because I think a lot of people resort to just making videos because it takes the burden of doing DMs or actually outreaching to people or getting on calls because we're just like, hey, we're doing our work, we're doing videos, but it's like it doesn't force us to get uncomfortable. So I'd say there, it's like the whole point, if you don't have sales, it's how many conversations can I generate? And so whatever you can do to generate conversations, that's really the only focus you need at that point.
So what I hear you saying is hire somebody maybe for like the high leverage time activities, like what you mentioned it with a content agency or a video agency. It's 100% going to be video editing. Find an A player there, and then be an authority. So like posting content and position yourself as an authority, being loud so that people see you and see you being known for what you're sharing the authority on. And then having conversations in more of like the organic conversations, whether that's adding value, etc. So what would be, I mean, the follow-up question just kind of in that 10 to 50K per month mark, like what is the number one skill that you think a agency should like learn in the 10 to 50K month mark if you're kind of floating around there?
It's essentially like at the end of the day, it's sales. But really what I mean by that is the communication side of sales. The ability to communicate what you're trying to do or what you are doing is so huge. And that carries from marketing, that carries into copywriting, that carries into actual sales calls. But sales is the lifeblood of every business. And so that is the number one skill you need. And it even transcends into, as you hire a team, it's all sales. Leadership is sales. How do I influence people to get them to see my frame, to see the vision and buy into it? You know, especially when you're smaller, you won't have the budgets that big agencies have to pay people. And so the only way you're going to get really good talent is for people to believe in your vision and want to ride along. And with that, you have to get good at sales.
Yeah, love that. Influence, sales, copy, vision, all that stuff. I think, but it's like what you're saying, it's all in that realm of whatnot. What about like investing in yourself? If you're in like that 50K mark and I want to get to 100K, like how am I investing into myself? Am I going to masterminds, paying for coaches, YouTube University, like hiring A players? What am I investing in, do you think?
So this is kind of it's an interesting one, and I think it's different for everyone because everyone has different skill sets and everyone has different areas that they really need to grow. I think if you're around the 50K mark, you really still don't have a real business, in my opinion. And so I still think the main focus you have is sales. How do I get more sales? And so if I'm going to masterminds, if I'm going to events, it's probably because there's prospects there. I'm not going to just go to one that's just focused on me. In my opinion, man, the amount of wealth of information on YouTube and books and podcasts, you can get the development you need internally with discipline. but it's very cheap to actually acquire the knowledge you need at that level. At that level, the real focus is still business. Until you really reach about 1 million a year, I think that the entire focus is still validating if you have a business, because I don't think you really do until you've hit $1 million in a year, and not just I hit 80 grand 1 month, but you're really starting to consistently do it. I think I would still focus all on sales.
So, love it. Okay, man. So last question would be, okay, I'm trying to get to $100,000 per month. What are the key things that I need to be focused on to grow to that 6-figure month mark that people love to talk about?
Yeah. So especially in the content side, because this is where I see most fail, content at scale is very difficult to maintain quality. Very, very difficult. Namely because you'll probably have like 2 or 3 excellent editors and they're amazing. But then it's really hard to find other people that start matching their skill sets, and you start seeing things break. You start seeing more revisions come back. You start seeing more clients upset that they made this dumb mistake or that word was spelled wrong or anything like that. And so at that point, around 100 is probably going to be team and management. How do you ensure quality continues? Because it's one thing to get to 100 grand a month. It's another thing to be able to consistently do it. Even then though, your focus as the owner is still sales. And so I think that's why really at that point, it's having those 2 or 3 loyal, incredible staff members that it can empower and know how to try to figure out the quality assurance side. I think that would be really, really important. But as much as you can too, I think in the beginning of your agency, stack as much cash as you can. I think that's one of the best things that I did early on was, I knew that beyond 3 months of expenses, I also wanted 3 months in a war chest. That I knew, hey, if our savings went down, our sales went terrible or whatever, that we had not just the cash in the bank, but we had a war chest that's there for times of war. And so I think a lot of people start hitting those months and they start boosting up their burn rates personally. And then you get into 2 months of bad sales, 3 months bad sales, and now they don't have a business. And so do that as much as you can.
It's a great tip for everybody to freaking know about, because it's not worth it at the end of the day, for sure, to be burning money, and like it's never makes you feel good. And I wouldn't say in most businesses, but there are times where you feel a little bit stretched and stuff happens, life happens, you need to hire. It's like agency, we're in such like a people-centric business that it takes a lot of throwing train tracks, is what I say, and like kind of paying for what you're anticipating to come. Okay, so team and then sales. So then maybe just a little bit more on like the team side of things. Like, am I identifying A players to build up into management? Am I looking to find like a COO or something along those lines? Or am I like, how would I want to be thinking about it if I'm listening to this? I'm trying to get to that 100K per month mark.
Yeah. So it probably depends on like, to carry out your services, what's required. I would say that you probably don't need a COO at 100K a month. Probably would maybe start considering that around 150 and more. And I think a problem that a lot of people run into is they promote people too quickly. Someone who has no real right to be a COO, they upgrade to a COO because, they were in early and now like we're in this together, and like they just naturally ascend them. And so be very wary of that, just because it's going to hurt down the road, because you're going to have to get someone else that's more qualified. But when it comes to team, I would say the main thing is going to be really where I tell people to focus on is like what drains you as the founder the most. Namely because you, in the beginning, when you're around 100K, I still think you're going to be doing a lot of work. I was still running 9 accounts in Meta and being CEO and doing all sales all the way up to like 160K a month. And I think it's important. I think it was valuable for me to do that. But when I started hiring, it really was what drains my energy the most, because I'm still going to have to do a lot of work regardless. So what would I rather be spending my time on, or what is actually I'm not good at that I can bring someone in that is great at it or loves to do it? And so if that's ops, great. Go find the ops people. Because if you're a creative agency, I'm assuming you're more of a creative. You want to be more there. And so you're going to bring your attention more to quality assurance, the editing, and then you're going to have to do sales, because that's just it. But then that means, you might need to bring in several project managers. You might need to bring in an operations person to start running the payroll, start running all that stuff, so you don't have to, so you can just focus on what you're really good at. But vice versa, if you love operations, but you are really not a big fan of the actual editing side, well, then great, hire for that side. The main thing that you should still have at that moment is you don't really have a full organization yet. It's still you. You're still the talent. You're still the genius and the reason why money flows. So your goal should be, how do I conserve my energy the most right now? And really, until you start probably having a team around 15 to 20 people, do you need to start having, maybe a wider management base?
Yeah, layers of the leadership and really working yourself out of it. Yeah, it's good, man. Ashton, bro, thank you for your time. Anything else that would be helpful before we sign off?
I mean, I think it's a big thing right now for the creative agencies in the world. I do believe AI, just like every industry, it's going to disrupt massively, but it's a hard enough thing for businesses to operate in the creative realm as it is. And so with the amount of freelance editors and content agencies out there and the amount of AI tools coming into the space, I do think it is high time for, I hate to say it, but even as a copywriter, I have to admit it, people don't value the artistic side as much. If you're in the commerce world, it does come down to efficiency. It does come down to price. And so I think it's a great time for agencies to think now of, how do we innovate and do something artistic, but still meet what businesses are looking for, that's different, that's new, that's fresh. And it's just going to look different for everyone. No matter what industry you're in, our careers are all changing. And so if you can lean into that, it can be a massive, massive advantage, but only if you try not to fight it.
Totally. Yeah, I think it's like one thing that I always tell people is like, become a marketer, not just a creative. And I think a lot of these creative agencies need to have that mindset as a marketer, as a business owner, not just like, I can make this look really freaking awesome. It's like, no, how do we become a marketer and add value and be a solution provider and all that sort of stuff? I think I totally am in line with you. I love the AI stuff. I honestly haven't spent much time, but I feel inspired right now to like go dig into it a lot more and see where there's opportunities.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
All right, buddy. Peace.